But look, I want to go back to this survey I've come across from Monash Uni. It says that young people are rather despondent about their financial future. 53% of young Australians say they'll be financially worse off than their parents. 56% say that the only job they can get is in the gig economy, so think, Uber Eats or something like that. And 85% of young Australians say they experience regular feelings of worry, anxiety and pessimism about the future. Our next guest is a career development expert, Sue Elson. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tom.
Well, is it that hard to get a job at the moment? I mean, the unemployment rate is still extraordinarily low, like it's still below 4%. Everybody says they're screaming out to get good people to work for them. Is it that hard for young people to get jobs or get the sort of jobs they want?
Well, it really depends on their job search skills and how prepared they are for it. And I've done work with a few independent schools and give them LinkedIn training. And I've heard of a number of students who are studying who are picking up graduate internships before they've even completed their degree. So if you have those job search skills, you'll definitely be able to do it. But what tends to happen from what I'm seeing is people get these gig jobs and they're worried that if they don't do that work, then they might lose it, and they're looking at multiple streams of income, and all of a sudden they just find themselves on this merry-go-round that they can't get off, and they sort of forget about those big dreams of getting something better and getting something more regular too.
Yeah, but I mean, I came of age, if you like, in the jobs market. I finished studying and I finished in 1992, and we're in the middle of a terrible recession. And, here in Victoria, the unemployment rate was 10%, but the youth unemployment rate was almost 20%. It was about 18.5%. Like, it really was tough to get any sort of job back then, let alone, some sort of glittering career. But I remember that most of us were happy just to get any sort of job to pay the bills.
Well, yes. The biggest difference between then and now is we've now got social media. And social media suggests to you, if you just do this, this and this, you'll make loads of money. And so back in 1992, you might have heard about multi-level marketing schemes and been approached by individuals. But now, if these young people are on their phones, they're being told, but you can make loads of money this way. And that could be stopping them from, taking that action and just getting the job. And there's also a number of extra safety nets out there. So, maybe they're using those as well and sharing and doing that kind of thing to save money. But the other thing that I think is also missing is that financial literacy piece, because how many of them really know how to manage their money? How many of them, it's not the avocado on toast, it might be the, delivered food or something like that that's eating away at their incomes as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like the number of them that get Uber Eats, at least one meal a day, which costs a fortune, but they just think, it's, you only live once and it's my life and I'll do it. Another thing I've noticed with younger people is they expect to be taken, very seriously, and their views treated with the utmost respect as though they've had years and years or decades of experience when they haven't. A lot of them at a young age don't seem to realise how little they actually know.
Yes, and I guess there's a belief, because you can look up everything supposedly on Google, then they have access to that information. So they don't realise that, people existed without Google before and they didn't have all that access to information. So we actually had to learn those skills. So particularly for people coming out of university, first of all, they went to secondary school and were told that you have to go to uni to get a job. And then when they're at uni, they're told you have to finish uni so you can get a job. But then they don't necessarily pick up experience in the industry. And some universities are full of teachers and lecturers that are academics trying to encourage them to continue on in the research path, and they don't have any skills out there in the industry. So the chances of getting them from uni into and getting that work experience in the related field whilst they're studying, and also with the idea of what can be expected in the real world, that's missing as well. And many years ago, when I was involved in graduate recruitment, we used to say it would take at least 6 months to get somebody who had just come out of uni into any form of reliable employee, because it just took that long to sort of deprogram them from their university studies.
So you've got to knock all the stupid stuff out of their head that they've learned at university and teach them the important things in the real life workplace.
Yeah, and the university's argument is, but we're teaching them the theory and, that's not the vocation. But if you get lecturers who are actually part-time university lecturers and part-time in the workplace, then the chances of them going from the discipline in which they were educated into that particular industry is much, much higher. So, yeah, that counts as well.
One final question. I've always wondered whether the universities actually look at what is the job market for some of the courses that they're teaching. So, working as I do in the media, we get lots and lots of young graduates who do, degrees in journalism and whatever, and they don't. A lot of them don't seem to grasp that there just aren't the jobs in journalism that there used to be. The newspapers don't employ so many people. They're not profitable. Free-to-air TV is shrinking. Even radio, we don't have nearly the number of employees that we used to. And I just wonder, does anybody at university tell them, by the way, this career is not necessarily such a great one in terms of job prospects?
Well, it would probably depend on the university and how closely they are connected to the industry. So I know somebody like RMIT University is very closely connected to journalism and the Melbourne Press Club and all of that. So they would be definitely on it. I also spoke to a lawyer who said there were 3,000 law graduates a year and only 300 law graduate positions available per year.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely those gaps. So I think that if you are considering a form of study, you should understand the industry and know what the opportunities are, and you should also be preparing for that before your final exams, not after your final exams. So you need to be planning that segue through to make sure that you can get into the industry and and you've made connections and you've spoken to people and you've got a mentor and you've joined the professional association, you've been a student member of the professional body. All of those things will give you a much better chance of going into those areas.
Thank you for your time. Sue Olsen there, career development expert.